A brutal winter storm, a lonely widow, and a cowboy who had forgotten what it meant to love. In the freezing Wyoming Territory of 1887, Clara Reed is stranded in the snow with nowhere to go and no one left to trust. Just when she believes she may not survive the night, a mysterious cowboy named Samuel Hayes finds her and carries her to his lonely cabin. But when Clara whispers, "You don't have to save me," Samuel gives her an answer she never expected. "Maybe I need saving too." What begins as a rescue soon becomes a journey of healing, trust, and unexpected love. So stay with us until the end to discover how two broken hearts found a new beginning. If you enjoy emotional Old West stories, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started. The winter of 1887 had settled hard upon the Wyoming Territory. Snow covered the open prairie like a white grave, and the bitter wind howled between the distant hills. Clara Reed rode alone through the storm, pulling her worn shawl tightly around her shoulders. Her horse, a tired brown mare named Daisy, struggled through the deep snow. Clara had been traveling for 3 days. She had no family waiting for her, no money in her pocket, and nowhere she could truly call home. Her husband had died the previous spring, leaving behind debts that had forced Clara from the small farm they once shared. She had been told there was work in a settlement beyond the mountains, but the storm had arrived before she could reach it. Suddenly, Daisy stumbled. Clara fell hard into the snow. "Easy, girl," she whispered, trying to stand. Her ankle screamed with pain. She looked toward the dark horizon. "Please!" But there was no answer. Then, through the falling snow, Clara heard the distant sound of hoofbeats. A rider appeared through the white darkness. He wore a long black coat and a weathered cowboy hat. His horse moved steadily toward her. The stranger dismounted and hurried over. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" Clara tried to rise. "I can manage." The cowboy looked at her injured ankle. "No, you can't." He carefully lifted her from the snow. Clara stiffened in his arms. "You don't have to save me," she whispered. The cowboy looked down at her with tired blue eyes. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he quietly replied, "Maybe I need saving too." His name was Samuel Hayes. He owned a small ranch several miles away, but there was little left of the man he had once been. Years earlier, he had lost his wife and young son to illness. Since then, Samuel had lived alone, speaking more often to his horses than to people. He carried Clara to his cabin and placed her near the warm fireplace. "You'll stay here until the storm passes," he said. "I can't pay you. I didn't ask for payment." Clara lowered her eyes. Samuel wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and prepared a simple meal. For the first time in months, Clara felt safe. But as she watched Samuel sit silently beside the fire, she realized something. The lonely cowboy had rescued her from the snow. Yet behind his quiet eyes was a man who seemed just as lost as she was. And Clara wondered whether fate had brought them together for a reason. By morning, the storm had passed. Sunlight poured across the Wyoming prairie, turning the snow into a field of silver. Clara stood near the cabin window, watching the world slowly awaken. Her ankles still hurt, but she could walk. Samuel entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You're healing," he said. Clara smiled faintly. "Because of you." Samuel shook his head. "Because you were stronger than you thought." For several weeks, Clara remained at the ranch. She helped with cooking and cleaning while Samuel repaired fences and cared for the horses. Little by little, the silence between them disappeared. One afternoon, Clara found Samuel repairing an old wooden gate. "Why do you live alone?" she asked. Samuel stopped working. "My wife and boy died 7 years ago." Clara lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry. I thought being alone would hurt less than losing someone again." He looked toward the mountains. "But sometimes being alone hurts worse." Clara understood. "I lost my husband," she whispered. "After he died, everyone told me to be strong. Nobody asked whether I was tired of being strong." Samuel looked at her. "I understand." That evening, they sat together on the porch beneath a sky filled with stars. Clara finally said, "When you found me in that storm, I thought you were saving me." Samuel smiled sadly. Maybe we were both saving each other. Spring arrived slowly. The snow disappeared, revealing green grass beneath it. Clara planted a small garden beside the cabin while Samuel repaired the old barn. For the first time in years, laughter returned to the ranch, but Clara still feared that happiness might disappear. One evening, she packed her belongings. Samuel found her standing beside Daisy. "Where are you going?" "I thought I should leave before I become a burden." Samuel stepped closer. "You were never a burden." Clara looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I don't want you to feel responsible for me." Samuel gently took her hand. "Clara, I stopped feeling responsible for you a long time ago." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I love you." The words hung quietly in the evening air. Clara began to cry. "I love you too." Months later, they married beneath the old cottonwood tree. There were no grand celebrations, only a few neighbors, 2 horses, and the wide Wyoming sky above them. Samuel had once believed his heart would remain broken forever. Clara had once believed she would always walk alone. But that winter storm had brought 2 lonely souls together. And sometimes the person you think you are saving is the very person who saves you in return.